Good morning, good afternoon, guys, and a very happy Monday. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. It was a busy one. It really was. There was so much going on over the weekend. Let me say a huge welcome to my co-host today. It's Brandon.
Why, hello, everybody. We have a lot to go over from this past week. All the cringe that got put to a screeching halt, and we get to laugh all the way to the bank.
We do. But before we get to that and start the fun, let me say hello to everybody. We've got both Bash Brothers, we've got Mark, and we've got Chris. Hello, guys. We've also got the Silver Fox himself. Where's he gone? There he is, Mark the Infinitely Old. Good to see you.
Now Mark's got alternatives following him. Oh, I love it. Gotta love it.
Let's see. We've got Keely Chow, Roll Tide Keely. We've got Snorter Poopers. Hello, good to see you. Shane Nolan, welcome. Eldritch Thrustlord, good to see you. Shane CT Errors, hello, my love. Good to see you as well. Let's see. We've got Daryl the Derek. Hello, love. That was a great show you and Arlena had over the weekend. Loved it. Let's see. Terry Rose. Good to see you, Terry. Project Storytime, he says first. Good to see you. Rookie Critic. Hello, sweetheart. It says can't for the life of me pronounce it. Schadenfreude. That's how we pronounce that. I love that word. You can't help but smile when you say it. Mobile Recluse, good to see you. Welcome. Archer Colin, good afternoon. So good to see you. Saint Ravage, hello, love. Welcome. Let's see who else we've got. You guys are busy today. We've got Leah Rose. Hey, sweetheart. We've got Pat S. Good morning, Pat. Good to see you as well. Sir Persalot, good morning. Good to see you. God, you guys are busy today. Hey, Pacific 414, good to see you as well. Low Spec Linux Laptop. Hello, my love, good to see you. I think that's everybody. I'm just scrolling up trying to make sure I haven't missed anybody. Gum Bunny, there she is. Hey, darling, good to see you. And Deepa Martin, good to see you as always as well. So, guys, Brandon.
Yes.
Shall we start off with the story that made us laugh the hardest over the weekend?
Oh, yes, this will be most delectable. Yes, please.
Absolutely. So it is the absolutely tragic news that after less than 3 weeks, the live action Cowboy Bebop, made by Netflix, has so sadly been cancelled. We will not be getting a second season.
Oh, I'm just so heartbroken. No, I'm not heartbroken at all. I don't think Netflix has ever come out and canceled something this quickly. And you know what? Good on them for recognizing when something sucks so bad that you have no choice but to cut it loose. And facts have to be faced, folks. This sucked so bad. It was awful. I wanted to get through the whole season just so that way I could say, A, I did it, and B, I could review it, and C, I could absolutely rip it up one side and down the other in comparison to the real Cowboy Bebop, the only Cowboy Bebop, which is Cowboy Bebop. But alas, I only made it through the one episode, and I'm like, nope. If I tried to watch more, my brain would explode. And I'm like, I've got so much to live for. I can't put myself through that. And lo and behold, 2-3 weeks later, yeah, we're canceling this shit. Yay!
It seems like
score one for the good guys.
Wise decision. I did watch it. Yes, I thought, well, I will persevere. Maybe we were a little bit too harsh on it, but nope, we were absolutely correct. Yep. It wasn't worth watching. And Archer Conan says, did you see that Clownfish's stream suggested that the news that it might be the end of live action anime adaptations?
Good.
If that's the case, then that is a worthy legacy for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Netflix has, this is twice that they have struck out hard with adapting. Death Note was the first one. This one's the second one. And they're wanting to do Yu Yu Hakusho, and they're wanting to do One Piece. Yeah, are you shitting me? Seriously. Well,
Berserk was also
the whole idea of doing One Piece to start with is overwhelmingly daunting just because of the sheer,
size of it.
just how much of it there is.
Yeah. Aren't we only about halfway through One Piece anyway?
I have no idea. No clue. I mean, that's just how long this is. Actually, let me think for a second. A few months ago, I do remember seeing an article about the people that are doing One Piece, and one of either their writers or production managers said that they believed that they were about 3/4 done. And I hope so, because my understanding is the guy that created this, or the people that are running this, they've had a few of them that have had health scares. And that's the problem that you run into when you have these super long running series. If you don't have an end point in sight, or at least know where you're going to end, you kick the bucket early, then all bets are off of whether it's going to get finished. And that's the problem that we've had with Berserk.
And if it doesn't get finished by the original creator, then you do run into problems, because the only person that really knows how to end the story is the person that started the story.
Exactly. Now there is one exception to this, and that would be with my man Golgo 13. Takao Saito, he has passed away, but he was an old guy, but he left his production company and he trained all of them to continue the stories. And for that, it's a little easier to do because that series is more of an anthology type series to begin with. So they in theory could go forever with my man Golgo 13. But for something that is supposed to have a point A to point B ending, like One Piece, like Berserk, they've got to be careful. And even with a newer show like hold on, it's coming to me. My Hero Academia. The gentleman that writes it, he also had a health scare. There have been, over the past year, there have been a lot of people that work on the manga and on the anime that have been dying. So, yeah, it's one of those things where if you're a content creator of any type and you're trying to create a story, needing to go from point A to point B, try to have it mapped out and at least have some semblance. So if something happens to you, at least you can either get it finished or put in your will, if I die, it's done.
Yes, at least have it set out. And let me just say good morning to Coffee on Coraban. Great to see you. Good morning. Warm welcome to Genuine Comics. Hello, sweetheart. Captain James T. Skywalker. Great to see you. And Channel 66. Hello, loves. Good to see you as well. Welcome, guys.
Yes, good morning to all you. There's I'm probably going to butcher this, but Isaj Moody?
Isaj Melody, yes. Hello,
Isaj Melody is here. Yep. And let's see. Shane Ayers, Genuine Comics. Yeah, we got a lot of people here today. I'm so glad to see you all. And hello to Jedi Bill and Saint Ravage.
Great.
Good morning to everybody.
The one thing that I did notice that the cast have been quite predictable in their reaction to what happened. So we had John Chow, who was pretty classy. He just put up a gif in regards to the cancellation. He just saying I'm okay, and he will be. I thought he was okay. A Spike, I think. I think 20 years ago he would have been perfect to play him, as great a shape as he was in. I just think he was just a little bit too old, but he did his absolute best with the character. Mustafa Shakir was the absolute classiest.
He's a classy guy. You can tell by the way that they present themselves in the Twitterverse who is classy and who is not.
Yes, I think he just put up a GIF. It said "See you in space, cowboys," which I thought was really sweet. Not attacking the fans, not attacking anything else, just saying that it seemed to like he had a good time doing this character, and he's going to go on and do other great things. And I wish him well, because I thought he was probably the best thing in the series.
Oh, absolutely. By far the most consistent in terms of how they presented their character. He was the right age. He was the right mannerisms, the right vocal tenor, the right everything to play Jet Black. So yeah, I don't fault him one iota. And I only slightly kind of fault, of course, my brain just went dead. Who were we talking about before? Oh, John Cho. A little bit, and it's just an age thing, but that's not his fault. Technically, that's the producer's fault. But good on him for giving it a try and doing his best.
Yes, and
now we come
it's
to
not
the crux.
ageism.
Yeah. Now we come to the crux of the problem.
Yes, predictably, Daniela Pineda reacted kind of the way that we thought she was going to react, and she's not taking it as well as everybody else. I think she put up a quite sarcastic picture on, I think it's Instagram by the looks of things, of two people smashing two mugs together full of beer, and it just cracking and going everywhere. I'm not quite sure what she's trying to get at with that, but she has also, gone after the fans again. She just cannot stop herself.
No, they people like that, people that subscribe to and hold the SJW Wokoso vision of how life should be, or people that just have a unnaturally large chip on their shoulder. This is the natural reaction when your shit gets flushed down the toilet and you're told that, yes, it really does stink and nobody else wants to deal with it.
I like that. Is that Melody says she kind of herded the bed.
No, I don't want that image. No.
Good morning, TC Canadian. Good to see you, honey.
Yes, good to see you. Yeah, everything about this was formulaic and predictable. The show was terrible. The only thing that did surprise me is how quickly they did it. So, as I said, I hate Netflix, and I will always hate Netflix. But
Netflix are having problems at the moment. I mean, they do keep acquiring licenses, and they've had a few successful gambles. We had Stranger Things, which did very well for them.
Yep.
Squid Games really took off, and people really love that.
It's that type of stuff that they need if they're going to continue to create or finance their own content like this. That's the type of stuff that they need to be known for, not trying to adapt something that is unadaptable. That's just straight up face the facts. Anime cannot be adapted into a Western structured show, live action. It can't be done.
No, it's generally the stories, they're just too complex, and especially if it's done by people that really don't have a love for the IP in the first place, which seems to be the case with this. And
the way the Japanese tell stories, or their story structure, is a little different, and it just doesn't translate when it's trying to be show ran by somebody who is a Westerner. It's just how it is. The sooner that they accept that, the better off they'll be, because they won't waste or dump more money down the toilet doing this. So,
yes, I wanted it to be good, but this is, again, as you say, it comes along. It's a string of adaptations that they've tried and failed. Alita Battle Angel is probably the only really successful one that springs to mind.
That's because
at the moment.
Robert Rodriguez, he's the type of person that knows how to respect a property and respect where it came from. He himself commands respect. He wants respect, and he understands that in order to get respect, you have to be able to give respect. So he gets it. And a good segue with Robert Rodriguez, I believe there is a chance that we could have a really decent Book of Boba Fett series, since he's primarily, from what I understand, going to be in charge of it. Now, I know there are some out there that are like, if it's Disney, it sucks. I get that. Robert Rodriguez, though, I'm willing to give a little more of a chance to, but we don't have to wait long. It's coming. We'll see how he does. The show is either going to be really good, or it's going to be meh and a one and done. We'll see.
Yes, I think a lot of people seem to agree with that. Although people are feeling a little bit jaded, and rightly so, by Disney, they are still willing to give it a chance. It's, even as Melody says, that's why I'm optimistic for Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I do think there are reasons to be optimistic about it. But as time will tell, we don't have very much longer to wait to actually see how the end product works.
And Chris brings up a good point. He says, better yet, Brandon, what with the hubris of Hollywood thinking they can do better than Japanese anime, and I thought they were against cultural appropriation. Yes.
Oh yeah, the hubris of Hollywood knows no bounds. There's an old saying, genius has limits. stupidity knows no bounds, and Hollywood is the exemplar of that. And you are correct. They absolutely, the hubris of them is over the top. It always has been and always will be. And it's just the nature of the beast with that. So that part, that's just par for the course. But the flip side, yeah, cultural appropriation, they say they're for, they don't want to culturally appropriate. When it goes to them trying to make a coin, they don't care.
Yes.
They'll throw all their morals out the window for the almighty, well, I would say dollar, but since the dollar's failing, the almighty yuan.
Well, Netflix, again, just going back to them, they seem to be, the prime example for that, because they will throw money at a series, and Cowboy Bebop was not cheap to make. They did not skimp when it came to the actors, to the CGI, to the sets. They really poured money into this, but they still missed the mark.
Yeah, and they missed it really bad. It really wasn't that hard. This is one of those shows that's not that hard to do. You already have the base plot. You already have the script. You already have your point A to point B. It's not an incomplete series. It is a fully complete series. All they had to do was just follow the script and not deviate to the level that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Not that hard. It really isn't that hard to do, but the hubris of Hollywood, that's going to be their ultimate downfall. And the sooner that it happens, the sooner that they can, basically, the sooner that these old studios and companies go bankrupt, and we can get, as our mutual friend Kamran Pasha says, get the club broken up, the sooner that we'll have a fresh set of eyes come in and make stories and make good movies again.
Yes, that's exactly what we need. We need fresh ideas, fresh filmmakers, people willing to take a chance on something, take a chance on an IP or an original idea that hasn't been done before, or bring
back a genre. That's what happened in the 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what happened in the 70s, and we have been benefactors of that for 30 plus years. But ultimately, those that set out and do their best work in their early days, they tend to live long enough to become the thing that they fought against.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we were talking obviously over the weekend about this, and I'm guessing this put a massive smile on your face as a fan of the anime. Do you think that this, as somebody mentioned in the chat, and it's been talked about as well, do you think that this will put a nail in the coffin for future adaptations?
Should it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Will it? I think Netflix has enough money to burn still, even though they're in massive amounts of debt. I think they're going to try one more time. They're going to try, as I said, either the One Piece or Yu Yu Yakusho or something else. They're going to try one more time. And as long as they respect the lore, they could probably pull off some variety. I don't think they can pull off these highly stylized fantasy or sci-fi or steampunk or any of those type of settings. Those are too hard. Mm-hmm. The type of show that they probably could pull off would be something like a slice of life type show, like Fruit Baskets or something like that. Something that is completely grounded in the modern world, and they can shoot in the modern world. They could go to Japan and shoot the show there and actually get the shots of the places that do exist within these animes.
Yeah, Soul Assassin says Black Lagoon could be a good adaptation.
Yeah, something like that. Something that doesn't go completely off the rails with some of the stuff they're trying to do. Those are the type of things they could do.
Yeah. So if you think that they used Cowboy Bebop because it was so well known, because it was so well loved, even though, it's relatively short when it comes to anime, we've only got 26 episodes and then the film, but because it's so beloved, do you think that's why they jumped on the IP? They saw the dollar signs?
Probably. Yeah. Try to make a quick buck. That's a way to do it. But in this case, get woke, go broke, and holy shit, they went broke quick. And I'm glad that it was a quick death as opposed to a long, strung out, prolonged thing. So yeah, I'll take the win on this one. I'm happy to take the win on this one. I know it's not just me that was bitching about it. Pretty much everybody and their dog. And fortunately, it's rare to have truth come out of a website like Rotten Tomatoes, given their recent sordid history.
Mhm.
But this is the one case where they did, and it showed. So we'll take it.
Yes, and I know there were some people out there that enjoyed it, and we're not taking away from your
No,
enjoyment of it at all. You know,
you can enjoy it all you want.
there were
All that
bits
I'm
that I liked. You know, I liked the look of the ships. I thought the environments were done very well.
yeah.
They put effort into making all the planets look very different, but they still just could not capture the magic.
Yeah, and that's the dangers that you run into when you're trying to quote unquote adapt a highly beloved show like this. You
Mhm.
run into those possibilities, and I do thoroughly, completely believe that had Danielle Pineda not been a complete and utter psychopath and kept her trap shut and not go after the fans, they would have got that extra 100, 200,000 views that maybe would have put it over the top within how their internal metrics work
Mhm.
for them to justify doing the second half or the second season or however many more they needed in order to complete their
Yes.
telling of the story. It would
Well,
have given us more fodder to laugh at, but
it was in the top 10 initially when it first came about because it was so highly promoted, but it dropped out almost immediately because people were not watching it, or if they
so it's
were watching
Masters of
it,
the
they
Universe part.
mhm,
It's Masters of the
mhm,
Universe all over again,
mhm.
basically.
Yeah, and Colin's right. Cowboy Bebop, Why the Last Man, Woke Skittles all starting to fall.
Yep.
Absolutely. And good morning, Darius Munchausen. Hello, love. Good to see you.
Morning, Darius. Good to see you this morning.
But yeah, it did make me smile. I do feel for the people, behind the scenes working on
Oh yeah.
it because a lot of people put a lot of work into it. But as you say, if you can't have, your main cast, just it. All right, so she got a little bit pissed with what people were saying, but she had no right to talk to the fans the way she did. And I
Yep.
would put some of that on the producer, on the director,
Hmm.
but mostly on herself as well.
Yeah. And I absolutely feel for all the blue collar guys. I'm from a blue collar ish type of family.
Hmm.
All of my ancestors dating back about 100 years have all either been farmers or worked in the mills or done hard labor. No white collars among us. So yes, it does break my heart all the people that do the background stuff don't get the glory that the main cast gets, having their lives completely upended. But then again, they know that that's always a risk on any show that they work on,
Hmm.
and they know that you could have a job one day, you could have 5, 6, 7, 8 successful years, but if there is a slight change in the wind, it can all come crashing down instantly. And they
That's
know it. That's
yeah,
the risk they take.
that's a
That's why
scary
they work
way.
there. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I'm just glad it's done. We don't have to worry about it anymore. And yes, the hubris of West Side Story is
Yes.
massive. So that's another thing we need to roast. But
Yeah,
who do
shall
you
we
want to
move on?
roast next?
Well, let's move on to West Side Story because Shane Nolan brought it up.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, I can only speak for myself, but did we need another remake, or do we need a remake rather of West Side Story? If you want to watch West Side Story, you watch the original because it is a fantastic film. And this is coming from someone who's not admittedly the biggest fan of musicals, but I liked it. I thought it was a solid film.
Oh yes. There's a certain subset of shows from a certain time frame, musicals being big among them, back in 40s, 50s, 60s. They're classics. There's reasons that they're classics because they hit all the marks. They had the great music, a great cast, great story, and great execution. This movie
Yes,
won a lot of awards.
it did. Yep.
It's
Yep. And this came out
typically
in 1961. Yeah.
yeah, late 50s, early 60s. They're when it goes to shows like this that have such high acclaim and is typically very high, top 3, top 5, top 10 in any specific genre. Anytime you start thinking about wanting to try and redo them or try to one up them, you're taking a big risk and a big gamble. And in this case, Steven Spielberg, he took excuse me, he took a massive risk, and it didn't pay off. And precisely because of the old saying, if you live long enough, you become the thing that you fought against. He is an old man now. He doesn't know he does. I don't want to say he has his head up his ass, but I do want to say that he doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Touch. Yes.
He's severely out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
He's too old for this in this day and age. He's gone. He was originally one of the 4 or 5 rebels of the 70s, where we had some of the best movies ever made. With Jaws, with Star Wars, with Rocky. That time frame, all of those movies that came out in the 70s from all of these cinematic geniuses was a shot across the bow and a smack to the existing Hollywood system.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Spielberg was the person that brought us the Hollywood blockbuster, the summer
exactly.
blockbuster. That's his legacy. I think it was Jaws that was the first huge film that just took people by surprise. I mean, we had Star Wars as well, but it really
they changed they changed the trajectory of Hollywood, because up to that point, if you look at the history of Hollywood, the Hollywood system, even though they were kind of out of that with the actors, the type of movies that some of them were still wanting to make were resembling a lot of the stuff from the 50s and 60s, and that model. They were stagnant like we are now. They were not willing to try and do these different things, but yet we had this cadre of 5 to 10 filmmakers, Spielberg being one of them, who took that chance, got the money, and made and basically rewrote the rules of Hollywood.
Yes. And if Hollywood wants to continue, this is what we need again. We need fresh blood like we had back then to take the chances, like we were saying. But West Side Story, it's done really terribly. The box office, I think its weekend takings is 10.5 million, which is less than what In the Heights took. And that film was poorly received as well. And this film isn't going to, garner much attention, and it's not going to garner much, takings, because coming up we've got the Spider-Man film, which is just going to blow everything else out of the water.
Yes, unfortunately, we do have that, and I'm glad that this one that Spider-Man is being handled by Sony as opposed to Kevin Feige. Just taking a quick peek through the chat here, Mark does make a point. Martin Scorsese still does excellent work. He still goes to the beat of his own drum, and I would agree. He hasn't fallen into the trap that Spielberg has fallen into, which is living long enough to become the thing that you fought against, or the thing that you hated.
Yes, I would agree with that. There are a few directors. I would put Tarantino in there as well. He's always done his own thing.
Yes, I love the fiercely independent guys. That their don't give a flying F button is completely broken, and are willing to take those chances, consistently take those chances. But yeah, it's a really sad state of affairs, and in all retrospect, West Side Story should have been a massive success. It has Steven Spielberg attached to it. He directed it, so it's not like some of the other projects where he's the producer because either Amblin Entertainment is doing it or some other thing that he has his tentacles into is producing it. This is his baby. This is supposed to be his, more or less, his final movie to show once and for all that he is as good as he says that he is. And yeah, only 10.5 million at the US box office, where Encanto was only 500,000 behind. And then on top of that, Ghostbusters was only 1 million behind it, and it was being shown on about 2/3 of the screens that West Side Story was being shown on. So we have a perfect dichotomy here. We have a movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife, which has massive legs. It has shown to be continually bringing in the money, and it's going to make a profit just off of the movie itself. We're not even talking about the merchandising. The merchandising is going to absolutely murder everybody else with profitability. So
It is, and again, it comes down to word of mouth as well. And we've got a lot of excuses coming out. We've got
Oh
the
yeah,
coof being blamed again with the new variants. And now I don't believe that that's the case
yeah.
at all, because
I'll
obviously
call bull on that
we
one.
know
I
what's
will.
coming.
Yeah, I'll call BS on that. That's crap.
Mhm. We've got Gen Z not liking musicals or not appreciating musicals anymore. I wouldn't say that's the case at all, because we had The Greatest Showman only a couple of
That's right.
years ago,
We
and
did.
that did very well.
That was in theaters for like a year, if I remember correctly,
Mhm.
and that's unheard of in this, even over the past 20 years.
Yeah. I
Before
mean,
before the internet really took off and we had high speed consistently.
mhm,
Yeah, having a movie play in theaters for a year is not an easy thing to do. Before the coof, 3 months maybe you would have it, at least where I live, a main movie or a high end movie like your Marvel features would be at the main big theaters for maybe 2 months. Maybe a third of it was really really good, and then it would transition over to our cheapy theaters, and then even that it would still take another month or two to get it on the pay per views or that, and then get a physical release.
mhm. Yeah,
So,
La La Land did incredibly well as a musical, and
no,
they
I've never
do
seen
say
that.
I saw it, but I didn't see it at the cinema. I thought it was pretty good, but they do say that musicals are one of the harder genres to push. I don't think it
Yes.
is. I still think that there is, plenty of people out there that enjoy a good musical. Sweeney Todd,
Yeah.
Soul Assassin brings up. That
Oh,
was a good
absolutely.
one as well. Yeah.
That is a great show. I'm not a big I take it back. I really do like uh the work that oh man, my brain just went dead.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. His work
Mhm,
has always been hit and miss with me. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's to me it's really bad, but Sweeney Todd, it did have it. I love
mhm.
the stylings of, that era in British history, the look of it, and of course the violence was over the top. He's slitting while he's slitting everybody's throats, and of course only Johnny Depp could pull something like that off. And
Yeah, it
as
was a
big of a
good cast, it was. I liked Johnny Depp, I liked Helena Bonham Carter, I thought she was great, they have great chemistry together.
oh yeah,
It had Alan Rickman in.
yeah, you can't go wrong when you have Alan Rickman in it.
Mhm.
I played Henry V, for God's sake. I'm trying to do this show.
5 curtain
Yes,
calls, yes.
yes.
Just quickly, let me say thank you and good morning to Papi. Hello, Mexican Eye Man. He says, "Who's that guy on screen with my purple? Hashtag lightsabers at dawn." Oh, wait, it's Brandon. All good. Full salam.
Yes, you have nothing to fear from me, Mexican Iron Man, for I am a taken man.
Good morning, Mexican Iron Man. Always good to see you.
Always
But
good
yeah,
to see my friend.
yeah, I think that some of these excuses that they're coming up with is, a little bit weak. And we've had films, I think we were talking about them a couple of weeks ago, The House of Gucci has bombed as
Mhm.
well because nobody wants to see that. So I think it's more that these films are just not grabbing people's interest. They're just not things that people want to see outside of the Hollywood bubble. Now, West Side
Exactly.
Story has had some rave reviews from critics, but not from, the
Not from the
public.
fans.
Mhm.
Yeah, it translates into how much they've made, and this is something. It goes back to the old saying. This is something that this was not needed. We didn't need a remake. Yeah, it's all about politics and the Oscar bait, and that's exactly what this type of movie is.
Yep.
But even at that, I don't think it'll grab it. I don't think it'll. I don't think it'll do so hot at the Oscars as maybe he was hoping for. But
Yeah, so
yeah, these
with Oscars and with a lot of these kind of award ceremonies now, nobody cares about them. The only people that care about them are the ones in the industry. Whereas,
exactly.
maybe 30 years ago, people would have watched the Oscars to see, I have this favorite film. Let's see how well it did. My favorite actor is up for best award, and let's see if he wins. But now people are so disillusioned with Hollywood, and they just do not care.
That's
I
their own
can't
fault.
remember the last time I watched an award ceremony.
I can. It's been about 15 years ago. The last one that I really paid attention to or really gave a flying crap about was the year that the Return of the King won and did
Ah,
an absolute sweep. And to be blunt, the previous two movies should have swept also. And I think the only reason why Return of the King did is because the other two were so great that they had no choice. Had they not given all the awards that year to Return of the King because of how popular it was with everybody, I think there would have been, knives out in their backs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Oscars are not relevant anymore. Who gives a flying crap? They can live in their bubble. They can produce their, bottle up their own farts and then open it up and sniff it. Let them die of their own what's the word?
Well, it comes back to hubris, doesn't it? We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, massive hubris.
Yep.
So hopefully they'll pull their head out of their orifices and actually start doing the right thing again. I don't hold my breath, but we can always hope. And actually, going to the theater recently and all the posters that were up, there are a few of them that I do hold out hope for. They're doing a movie about the life of Kurt Warner, and those who know who he is the quintessential rags to riches NFL player. I still remember that as if it was yesterday. He had played football, played college. He didn't get drafted or anything. In order to make money, he was working at a grocery store. But then the Rams, they had been problematic for years. They've always had issues. They get a new coach in who knew how to win, but hadn't won the big one yet. Take a chance on him because he has that potential talent. Goes on and wins that first year. They revolutionized how football is played with the greatest show on turf. It was a sight to behold, and I absolutely love Kurt Warner. He is one of my favorite players, and rightfully so. He is in the Hall of Fame now since he retired. So.
See, that actually sounds interesting. I like the whole idea of a rags to riches story.
And they have Zachary Levi playing him, and he looks fairly close to him. It's a good casting.
And good morning,
Snowdub.
Good to see you, honey. But yeah, it was a weird one. I've got to admit, West Side Story was not something that caught my attention. And Spielberg saying that he's not going to use subtitles over the Spanish-speaking parts of the film was very, very silly, to be honest.
Extremely silly. And I can respect those that are multilingual, or at the very least understand English and Spanish. I do not. I am from a generation that didn't have to do that. So I understand a little bit, and I understand how some of the fluctuations and all that work. I understand the basics of the language. I can't string it together properly. So not having the English subtitles for the parts where it's extended Spanish speaking, I'm not going to go see that because I won't know what the hell they're saying. For all I know, they could be saying, "Yeah, look at these people in the audience, how stupid they are." We could be having something like that going on. That's just stupid.
It was a very odd decision to make, and again, you're just isolating part of your audience.
It's a woke decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was him trying to pander to the woke and smack him.
Yeah, and Son says, "I'm Latino and speak a little Spanish. I'm cool with subtitles for people who don't speak it." Absolutely, it would be the same for any French-speaking people, for example, or German or any other language. It just helps the audience, especially if you have a film that you want to have played overseas.
Exactly. You can bet your bottom dollar if the Chi-Coms were to come to him and say, "Hey, we want to release this over in China," you can bet your bottom dollar he would translate that into whatever version of Chinese they want and slap the subtitles all over that in every single place possible. So yeah.
Yeah, and Colin points out as well, I understand why Spanish is a major second language in the US, but what about the rest of the Anglosphere? Absolutely.
Exactly. It's just, it goes back to the whole thing of him living so long that he has become what he hated. He is part of the system. He is part of the woke, and he thinks that by doing this, it's going to make him money. He's absolutely wrong. He won't. There's no way. With how it performed on the first week, even if it was to maintain that throughout its run, it's not going to be in theaters long enough to come even close to the initial $100 million mark that the movie cost, let alone the amount necessary to pay for all of the advertising campaigns that's gone with it. They have to make about $200 million. Mark my words, they won't even come close. They'll be lucky lucky to get a quarter of that, let alone up to that initial 100. If they
Yeah.
get to the 100, I'll eat my can of Rockstar. I'll eat the can. That's how confident I am that it ain't happening.
I agree with you. And again, I think it's just, I think it's a very odd decision for them to make, but they will just keep pushing out these films, and for them to kind of try and trot out the idea that, oh, people aren't going to the cinema, that's why they're not watching this film. Well, let's see what happens next week. Yeah. When
Next
a certain
week is
film
going
is
to be
released.
once Spider-Man comes out, it's lights out, and there are a lot of people that I respect that have said that they believe that this will be the last $1 billion film, at least for until people finally stop fearing and embrace their humanity again. But that's a side thing. What's next on the agenda to mock?
Well, since we were talking about things that are hated, how about we go on to Santa Inc.
I'd like to shorten it up, and it's just satanic.
Yes, yeah. Do you think that was done intentionally? I don't think any of this, even the backlash that they've received, was not calculated. I think that Seth Rogen has such a ego that he wanted his name on the worst rated TV show of all time just to say that he's got it.
Yeah, him and Sarah Silverman. I don't want to come off as being overly hateful. But my appreciation from them has completely and utterly gone down the toilet. You know, there's only one thing that Sarah Silverman has ever done that I've actually liked her in, and that was in Wreck-It Ralph. I liked her as Vanellope von Schweep in that. I thought she was fine because they kept her reined in. And with Seth Rogen, I do like some of his early work, but this is once again.
The only thing I liked was when he was in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, he was great in that. That's a guilty pleasure that the movie hasn't aged very well, but it's still funny as hell, and you know, it's still fun to watch. But when it goes to it, they both have always had this streak in them of doing just stupid shit, and this is just the end part of it. This is their excrement sandwich that they're trying to save for everybody to accept and take, because if you don't, you're an istophobe Yahtzee. And because of the fact of their birth heritage, they try to push that on us, because if you try to backlash against them, oh, you're this and that against that particular group of people, which is absolute bullshit.
Yes, and the spin that they put on this was incredible, which is why I think, as we were saying, I think that this was calculated. They knew exactly what they were doing going into this. You know, if you attack, maybe not Christianity, but if you attack Christmas, who doesn't like Christmas, especially with what we've been through in the past couple of years? You know, this is a time where people come together. We just want to spend time with friends and family. And you've got this nasty animated, it's not even a film. People thought it was a film. I think they might have gotten away with it if it had just been like an hour and a half long, but it's 8 episodes.
Yeah, it's crap.
It is. I will admit I watched a little bit of it, because I always do when I review things, because I like to get a taste of what's going on, but it was absolute cringe. And I'm trying to figure out who this was made for, and all I can come up with is it was made for them. You know, it was
oh yeah. Yeah, it's
giving the middle finger.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely made for them and those in that bubble that don't have a mind, that don't have a problem mocking. This is just an extra thing that goes into trying to break down a tradition of the West. If you want to take it to the broad 50,000, that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is aimed at doing. One extra attack on the tradition of Western culture, whether or not you believe in the Christianity part of it, or just the fun of it. You have to destroy anything and everything that the West built in order to build your utopia, or your supposed utopia. And that's exactly what you're doing. And as far as the rabbi criticizing it, I'm glad he did. And to be blunt, anybody Anybody with a functioning, logical brain should see this for what it is. Just absolute crap and ignore it. And then mock those two for making this complete and utter pile of trash. And then HBO Max, they need to be HBO has done some really stupid stuff over the years.
Mhm.
This in my book is inexcusable. You know, it's one thing to have a show that has tons of violence, has tons of nudity. I don't have to watch it. I can skip it. And for those that do like, the boobage, fine, that's great. You can go watch it. I don't
Mhm.
have to. I
Yeah,
don't necessarily mind them doing that
yeah.
type of catering, but this
Mhm.
is just a straight up abomination to everyone.
Yeah, and I like edgy humor. I like dark humor when it's done well.
Yeah.
South Park is the prime example. They make fun, but they make fun of everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody
Equal
is fair
opportunity
game.
offenders.
Exactly. There was nothing, equal about this. It was just nasty. You know, and I'm glad that
Yeah.
it's only 4%. So let's have a look. So it's still on 4% on Rotten Tomatoes with 1,256 user ratings. We've still
Yeah,
not
that's
got
crap.
enough critic ratings. So
Yeah,
they
that's
probably
another
won't
show
do.
that it makes no sense. Why are they going so far out of the way to protect these two? These
Mhm.
two aren't even A list or B list. They're C list hacks. Yet they're bending over backwards. They're bending over more than what they did for the Plankwood and her movie. They have completely and utterly done everything they can to protect this gigantic pile of crap. Ugh. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, they can go burn.
Yes, and generally I don't pay much attention to Rotten Tomatoes, but on this, it is interesting to see because, as you say, they're usually a lot more. They try much harder to at least try and lift the rating because we've seen it happen before. This
Yep.
thing dropped down to 1% at one point, and I think it probably should have stayed there. But we got unfortunately a few 5-star or whatever highest
Yeah,
reviews
the
that they
hacks
can
coming
give.
out.
The hacks came out, or joke reviews that kind of lifted it. But it was very strange. And Chris says, I heard apparently kids could still watch this on a kid's account at HBO. So well done for another fine mess.
And that's why I don't consistently subscribe to certain services. As I said, HBO Max just doesn't appeal to me to start with because most of their stuff I could care less about. And once the merger with Discovery happens, assuming that it doesn't get derailed by the twits in DC because they're trying to protect their precious CNN, because if Discovery gets a hold of CNN, you can bet your bottom dollar that is either going to get completely changed or dumped. So it's from looking at it, it looks like they're trying to go into protect mode for them. But that's the only way that HBO is going to get any better is by having Discovery or somebody like them take control of them, where they have to make money and they can't just make this crap just because they want to make this crap and not expect there to be consequences.
Agreed, yeah. And I don't think that they'd be willing to take a gamble on something like this as well. And we did hear, I think it was the beginning or towards the middle of last week, that they were pushing for a second season of this thing. As if that was ever going to happen.
Yeah, it's a massive disappointment.
It is, and it's just nasty. And this time of year, with what we've been through, people want to feel good. They
Yes.
just want to get together with friends and family and to have something that attacks Christmas in such a childish and stupid way. Yeah, it was rightly panned, and I'm happy it was, to be honest.
Speaking of disappointments, that leads into the last item of the week.
Yes, it does. Let me ask you, Brandon, if you had, $6,000 just lying around, burning a hole in your pocket, would you go to a expensive Disney hotel to spend 2 nights LARPing, playing Star Wars?
No. Unless I could go and hang out with Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, Chewie, Han Solo, 3PO, R2, and real Star Wars. In that case, maybe. But let's face facts. This Star Cruiser thing, this is right up there with everything else. This past week, we just had 4 perfect examples of why the woke shouldn't touch anything, because what they touch turns to crap.
And yes,
Oh man.
Coffee and Korriban had a great show on Saturday, giving some ideas about what they could do to improve it.
Oh yeah, there's
So
tons of things that they could do.
that
It
was great.
this is another one of those things that's not that damn hard. You have the existing IP that everybody loves, the original series. You have the sequel, not the sequel trilogy, but the prequel, which most people liked. And now, because of how bad Disney has done with this, everybody loves. They have tons of stuff that they could do. What did they decide to do? Enter Kathleen Kennedy insert. What a load of shit.
It's weird, isn't it? It just looks incredibly cheap. And I'm looking at the actual photos of the rooms. It looks like a backpacker's lodge. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just
It's
doesn't
bad.
say Star Wars. It just looks generic sci-fi. There's nothing
If
on
I'm
the
gonna,
walls. There's nothing in the
I'm gonna spend
decoration.
$6,000 on something like this. 2 days is not enough. It had better be at least 5. And then on top of that, if I'm going to get lightsaber training, I want training by a Jedi master who actually gave a crap and was actually loved by everybody.
Yes,
as
and
opposed to the
to keep the lightsaber after.
Exactly. Yeah, for this type of money, I had better be weighted on hand and foot and have the primo experience. And just from what they showed to everybody, it is beyond cringe. And they have been roasted royally, and they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it.
We had the initial video that was shown a couple of weeks ago that got pulled almost immediately because it was so badly received,
So
and
terrible.
rightly so. It was cringe. We've since had the one that's been sent out to the people that have booked, showing them, the kind of behind the scenes and this little kind of promo that has gone down terribly as well. It's just bizarre. It's made by people that don't really seem to understand the IP.
Yep. And it goes back to who's in charge of it right now. It's Disney. I don't blame them for wanting to make a buck on it. That's what they should be doing. But if they're trying to make a buck on it, they got to do it the right way. This is not the way.
Do you think they've gotten to the point where they've basically priced most people out that would have gone to Disney? Because Disney has been getting incredibly expensive. I think the last time that I went was in 2019, and it was not cheap. If you want to go to the parks, if you want to go to the hotels, it's a hefty chunk of change.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way that I could afford to go, even by myself. I couldn't afford to do it, let alone take my wife, take the kids. It's just not possible now. It costs too much to go. Well, if you choose to stay there, it costs a fortune. If you choose to eat there, it costs a fortune. If you choose to go into the parks, it costs a double fortune. If you can't take your own stuff in, you have to eat there. Every single pain point that they could hit, they are hitting. Now, just from my own thing, last time that I was in Florida was both 2004 and 2006. Even back then it was expensive, but it wasn't out of reach. We spent a few days going through, the MGM studios when it was the MGM studios, and it will forever be the MGM studios.
I still call it MGM studios. Yes. Not Hollywood studios.
Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and the main Disney park. And out of all of them, I love Epcot. Epcot was my favorite, and MGM is right there with it. If I had to go, those would be the only two I'd go to. But even to try to do that now, I would have a better time and get more bang for the buck to go to Universal Studios, to go to SeaWorld, and then take the trip over to Tampa and go to Busch Gardens. I absolutely adore Busch Gardens. That was a lot of fun.
Busch Gardens is pretty cool. You're right. Soul Assassin says, I think the price will get drops and possibly change to a Guardians of the Galaxy or some sort of different sci-fi franchise. That could be a distinct possibility. Now, we've had news that a lot of people are cancelling their bookings because it's been so badly received. People have been reporting, there's big chunks, whereas it was all fully booked before. You can get days in the month where it opens, which is May, I believe, and then further back into the year, it's all open. But for them to, be hedging their bets on what should be the biggest IP that they own other than Marvel, that does not bode well.
No, it doesn't. And this is once again one of those things where the wrong people making the wrong decisions because they're in the right position. This is one of those things that assuming that what few of our friends are saying is true, if once Chapek has complete control, he can possibly get this fixed. Of course, it's going to take time because of all the just the nature of a massive bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to survive, they have got to do something. That company is in massive, deep, heaping piles of debt because of Iger and his spending spree since they bought Marvel. They have bought a ton of IP, and ever since they started doing that, that's when their trouble started, because they allowed the weirdos to take control that don't care about it, never cared about it, and want to self-insert all of their own ideology and stuff into it. And yeah, it is sad to see all these things that everybody loves and we want to still support just be turned into complete piles of ash.
Mm-hmm.
And until it actually changes, there's no way that I in good conscience can go and give them money or do things like that.
No, like I said, the last time that I went was 2019. Galaxy's Edge hadn't opened yet because it was early on in the year, but it was hard to get round. Hollywood Studios, this isn't a well laid out park anymore. They basically added the Toy Story zone, which is kind of tucked away on what used to be the back lot, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to kind of go around the back of all these buildings to find it. Galaxy's Edge is then tacked onto that as well. It's a really badly designed park now.
Yeah, and I'm so sad that they did away with the Indiana Jones experience. That was a hell of a lot of fun to see that played out, and it's those type of attractions that I loved going to MGM for, because they had those. If I remember correctly, at the time they had just released the Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah. But I kind of felt the same way with Universal when they got rid of a lot of their classic rides. They got rid of the Jaws ride, which I loved. Back to the Future was a fantastic ride.
You got rid of them?
Yeah, they're all gone in Florida now. Yep, all gone.
Man, I'm glad that I was able to go when I did, because I saw them. They had the Terminator 2 experience. That was fun.
Yep.
They had
Tornado was there.
Yep, Twister.
Yep, sorry. Yep.
They still had all the good stuff.
Ghostbusters, I remember seeing the live play. That was fantastic. Yeah, they had some amazing things. Now, somebody mentioned earlier on in the chat that they're looking forward to the new lands that they're building, the new park. So Nintendo were coming, I think How to Train Your Dragon. And for me, the big one will be the Universal Monsters. That zone really has kind of grabbed my attention. But I prefer to go to Universal Studios now because of what they've done. What they did with the Harry Potter. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but if you are a fan, it looks incredible. It looks amazing. Same with the Jurassic Park area. They've really upped the ante with that now that they've got the Raptor coaster.
Yeah, I remember the Jurassic Park area of the park. And actually, now that I think about it, my wife did take her two daughters to Universal and to Florida with her mother about 2017. Fortunately, the girls were sick, so it was a little more difficult. But I do remember her when she came back. She said she absolutely, positively, 100% adored Universal Studios, and she is a massive Harry Potter nut. So she absolutely loved Diagon Alley.
Yes. Yeah.
But she didn't really care for the Disney part, and I don't blame her. And unfortunately, with the kids being sick, it didn't help, but even they were like, it's okay.
Yes, and just to quickly answer, Soul Assassin says, do they have theme parks in your area? They do. We have a lot of theme parks. The closest one to me, there's one called Drayton Manor. Then the big one is Alton Towers. We have Chessington, which is another good one. Thorpe Park is a great theme park. I love theme parks. I love roller
I used
coasters.
to love theme parks.
I've always
And
been
actually,
a big fan.
with where I live, the closest theme park to us is it's called Lagoon, and it's down in between Ogden and Salt Lake City, Utah. It's gotten
Mhm.
pretty good size, still reasonably affordable. It's okay, but my favorite, when I was a late teenager, I lived in a place called Post Falls, Idaho,
Mhm.
and it's right next to Coeur d'Alene, right next to the Washington state border. Just north, in a place, if I remember correctly, it was in Rathdrum, there was a theme park called Silverwood. It we had passes to that for the summer each year. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't expensive. They allowed you to bring in your own food. They even had their own air show. And one of the guys that ran the air show was a former Vietnam pilot, but that went by the name of Bud Healy, if I remember correctly. And he died a few years after I moved in a plane accident. And from what I remember,
Mhm.
Ted Koppel, the old Nightline host, he came on the air after that happened. And he said that he remembered Bud Healy because when he was reporting in Vietnam, Bud Healy was one of the pilots that kept him from getting shot down while in Vietnam. He was an excellent, excellent stunt pilot. And they, to this day, if I remember correctly, they still have the airfield for their stunt planes. They still do the stunt shows, and they have a little teddy bear that's named after him.
Oh.
But that place, they had a lot of room to grow. It's been almost 20 years since I was last there, but it was a lot of fun. That is what a theme park should be. A lot of great
Mhm.
rides, not too expensive, great shows, a decent water park, even though, that stuff can only run for maybe 2 months out of the year because of where it's at, but it was a lot of fun. That's exactly what a theme park should be.
Yes.
Everyone there could afford to go.
Mhm. Yeah, the whole idea that Disney's now, catering for the super rich is really, really terrible. And just to
And that,
grab a couple of comments,
yeah,
Colin says, "Is the Universal Monsters still going after how badly the last movie did?" It's going back to the original Universal Monsters, so it's the Bela Lugosi, it's Boris Karloff. It's
yes.
that age of monsters, Universal, that they're going back to. And Paris said, where has it gone? He said, when is Nintendo World hitting Universal? So originally it was going to be 2023, but now I believe it's being pushed back the opening till 2025 because of the pandemic. But they're
That's a
still
shame.
building
That would
it.
be
It's
fun.
still coming. I'm looking forward to it. If they do build it, it's something that I would definitely be like going to see.
Yeah.
I'd probably skip Disney and just stay on location in Universal.
Oh, absolutely. And actually,
Mhm.
back in the chat, Sir Perzelot did have a point about aiming and trying to do things for the super rich. How many people that are rich enough to be able to do that are going to blow their money on that when there's other things that they could blow their money on?
Mhm.
They're they're pricing themselves out of existence by catering to somebody or to a class of people that don't that when I think of a really rich person, even somebody that's moderately rich, maybe somebody that makes a mid six figure, a high six figure, or a seven figure or more, I
Mhm.
don't see a person like that going to a place like that. That's not their thing. They're more the Gucci, not the Gucci knockoff. They're not going to go to something like that. So I
No, they're more
absolutely agree
likely
with
to go
him.
to some,
Yeah,
tropical paradise than to be
exactly, because you
walking
can
around a
afford to
theme
go to a
park.
tropical paradise.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So
So no matter
ah
how big a fan that you are, I think that this is going to be a failed experiment with the price that
mhm.
they've set, and I think they are going to drop the price drastically if they
But they're
want to
going to have to.
recoup. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, anybody that has any type of fame that goes through a place like that, they can't do that. They could afford it, obviously, but
Hmm.
there's no way that they could go through without being heavily disguised. And who wants to do that?
Yes, yes, they're not going to
So,
want to be slumming with the plebs. Absolutely.
yep.
Let me say a massive thank you to Snowdub Music and Entertainment. Thank you, sweetheart. He says puff plus purple equals heart. Absolutely. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of Puff. He's
Oh yes. Who doesn't love Puff? Puff,
he's
you know,
he's
Puff
a
reminds me
sweetheart.
of a lot of people that I used to hang around with when I was going to college. For better or worse, I remember those days.
Puff is awesome, but so is Jolly. We love them all.
Oh
So
yeah,
thank
the
you,
patriotic
thank you,
puppet.
Snowdub. Absolutely. Before we wrap up and let these good people finish the rest of their Monday, what have you got coming up, hun?
Well, I have an announcement. My return is now set. The first of the year, the very first day of the year, January 1st, 2022, I will go live. And I am inviting everyone to come in and say hi. I'm putting the link out to everybody. And if anybody and everybody who has supported me throughout this exile, I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you. And I want to thank you personally for not only standing by me, standing up against the system, and standing up for great entertainment. And in this case, great anime. So I'm going to have an open panel, have as many people as I can shuffle in and through it. There's no real time limit on it. I don't know a time yet because I want to hit just the right time so that way I'm not stepping on other people's toes that I know broadcast on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm going to have that figured out, hopefully this week, I will have the card created for it probably a few days before the first, so that way everybody can set the reminders. And then I really do want to see everybody here. I want to see everybody there on Saturday.
Nice.
And we're going to talk about some of the anime that I've been watching through the rest of this through this year, because I've watched quite a few, and hopefully have a great discussion. Have, as I said, have everybody come in that wants to say hi, and we'll just have a lot of fun. Then after that, it's going to be back to the grind, hopefully back to a normal-ish routine.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to figure out a few things, but
back in the saddle. Nice.
Back in the saddle.
I love that. Yeah, I can't think of a better way to kick off 2022. That's fantastic. And the chat are loving it. We've got lots of congratulations, Brandon. People are looking forward to it. I think that's a fantastic way to kick off 2022.
Yeah. And I thought it would be a lot of fun. Plus, I don't have to work, and I know there's a few people out there that have talked to me and said that they've had some things change in their life to where the weekends are now golden for them. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Bit of a shift, so that is awesome. But let's say happy birthday to Shockwave, because Gun Bunny says it's his birthday on the 1st, so that is awesome as well.
Happy birthday.
We will say happy birthday properly on the correct day, but a premature happy birthday to him. I hope he has a great one. So guys, Brandon will return on the 1st. We're looking forward to that. I will be back on Wednesday. I may have a guest. We're just trying to work out things, so it'll either be Wednesday or Friday this week that I have a guest. We have got Pink and Purple in the afternoon on Wednesday as well on this channel.
Oh man, I can feel my sides already starting to rip up.
Oh, we've got so much stuff going on at the moment.
You two make me laugh so damn hard. Oh, it's incredible what comes up on the show. But yes, that has become a very good, an excellent show, and I am so glad that you two decided to do it, because we all need to laugh. We all need to laugh at the roided owl.
If you enjoy that, guys, keep your eyes peeled, because in 2022 there will be another show coming with Arwen and myself. We're just working out the logistics, and we also will be having, I believe, on Friday we've got a big get together of just ladies as well, but I'm not sure what channel that's going to be on, so we're working that out as well for a Christmas show. So we have got so much going on this week. It's crazy. And thank you,
it'll
Chris.
be good.
It'll be good. It'll be fun, and that's what we want, absolutely. So, guys, let me say a massive thank you to Brandon for joining me today. I knew it was going to be fun.
Thank you for having me.
We just had to poke fun at these stories, because it does make you smile, doesn't it? It makes you feel all warm inside.
Oh, yes, it does. It makes me want to do this. Okay, I'm good.
Let me say a massive thank you to everybody in the chat today. You guys were brilliant as always. We had some fantastic comments. A huge thank you to everybody who sent super chats. You guys are amazing as always. I will see you guys soon. If you are a member of Loki, we have got a member stream later on this evening, so I hope to see you guys there as well. But until then, guys, have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Have a fantastic day, and we will no doubt see each other soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care, y'all.